Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part three. That's so cool. I love that. So you leave USC. How does Freak Talks About Sex come about?
Okay, so what happened was that I, I guess I was looking for a first movie to make, and I met a guy who's a good friend of mine now named Jim Daddabo. I met him out here in Los Angeles. He produced Freak Talks About Sex, but he just became a friend of mine, and we talked about movies. And he was like, "Well, I want to be a producer," and he was like a agent in training at the William Morris mailroom and all of this stuff. And he's like, I want to produce. And his college roommate in Ithaca College. Oh, we bonded because we happened to coincidentally be from the same hometown, Syracuse, or near Syracuse. So he went to Ithaca, and his roommate was Michael Galvin. And Michael Galvin had written while he was an undergrad, just for his own self, he wrote a novel, and it was called Freak Talks About Sex. And it was about Syracuse
Yeah, I saw
living.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that. Freak Talks About Sex was based off a book.
a
Yeah,
book, and it
in
was
the credit.
unpublished, but it was a novel. Um, and
Yeah.
he's like, and so Jimmy's like, I got my roommate's really amazing, material, and you're from Syracuse, you can relate to all of it. And he's like, you should direct it. And so we bonded, and we went down the road of trying to finance a movie. We started with the companies in Hollywood, and we had some interest here and there, and um, but it wasn't really going anywhere. And also some of them wanted really weird changes that were weak, of
Of
course,
course.
like
Of
some dumb
course.
ending. And so then we
Can
okay,
he go
independent.
out? Yeah, could he go with the girl? Like
Yeah, it was
I
like
could
that.
see
It
them
was it was
sitting there
like
going
take
like,
her along, and then or
why is she going with him? And it's like, you don't get it.
it's just yeah. So we independently financed it, and it took it 2 years to get the
Yeah.
money together like that way. But we did. We did. From a variety of investors. One in particular was like a major one, but a lot of small
Yeah.
people who brought in small amounts. And yeah, and we shot, 35 millimeter Panavision cameras. That's what you do
Yeah.
back then. I mean, you could get other kinds of cameras. We were so proud that
It,
Panavision agreed to let us use
it
their camera.
reminded me a lot of Kicking and Screaming. I don't know if you've seen that the Noah
Yeah,
Baumbach, not the Will Ferrell movie,
right.
the
And
Noah
Josh
Baumbach
Hamilton, I
film.
think Josh Hamilton is
Yeah,
in it.
Josh Hamilton's, and I almost was like, this is almost like the sequel to that movie with Josh Hamilton. Like he goes back home and still hasn't figured out his life.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there was that whole zeitgeist at the time. Mallrats just came
Yeah,
out, and I was in the mix with those films, and I,
yeah,
because I've shot at a mall, and
yeah.
I
I
liked
love
I like
Mallrats.
Clerks. I actually like Clerks quite a
That's
lot.
another thing that it reminds me, like, hey, this is kind of like Clerks, but meets like Kicking and Screaming. And I love, as soon as I saw Josh Hamilton, I was like, oh wow, this is great. And it just I was kind of upset because I was like, why have I not heard of this? I mean, I was so glad you sent it to me because I was just like, this is the type of movie I like.
Oh,
I
good.
love the I love the way you just, one of the things that you have a real knack for is the dialogue. Your dialogue is very much coming out. It feels like it's coming out of the people. It doesn't feel like it's this stilted, covering for things. You have people talking the way they should be talking,
Mm.
especially in a mundane job like that, where they're just sitting around and it's just, you know, chatting. I love that. Um,
I'm glad. Thank you. Yeah, we
I was
definitely
so glad when you
try
sent it to
for
me.
honesty and authenticity in that stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite reach the level of Altman, but but we definitely have. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
agree. That's very important. I don't like movie-ish speeches that are
Yeah.
obviously scripted and every sentence is well constructed, but no one talks like
No
that.
one talks like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just, yeah, I love the space with it. It just, I don't know. And then the shooting in the mall, it just felt so lived in. They just felt like such,
I grew
real
up in there.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
and I
mall. That's where I grew
really
up.
that's
Yeah,
your mall.
that's Syracuse. Yeah, that's and I always, hated malls and the stupid consumerism and the shopping
Yeah,
and the whole thing. Now people don't barely even know about that. I mean, there's a
no,
few
malls are
malls,
like
but
a dead. Yeah, it's like a dead thing now.
yeah,
Kind of weird.
yeah, yeah.
When it's
Things change fast.
was that kind of cathartic for you? You know, shooting in the mall that you lived in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I brought a lot of my own experience to it, I feel,
Yeah.
because, it was our world.
Yeah, I don't know, I just loved it. I was like, when you sent it, I was like, oh wow, I love what this guy's doing right now with this. And Steve Zahn is freak, just kind of, and I like how you created this like real change there. Like, you know, he's kind of this guy, but you know, he's changing. And
He's
Josh
growing
Hamilton's
up.
character is kind of just stuck in this rut. He also reminded me of The Graduate a little bit, where like he's
Oh,
kind of
what a
sitting
great
there.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good movie.
You know the
But
kind of
like,
things I love. I feel like
yeah,
you get it. And yeah, The Graduate, of course, is an influence. I
yeah,
love that movie.
where he's just kind of like he's just kind of just trying to figure out like he wants to go, but he can't. And you've got the whole thing with the car where he's coming in with the car, and he's
Oh,
asking
yeah.
him, he's asking him like, can I take this? You know, when's it gonna be ready? And then you follow that up till like the end of the films. That's really the
Yeah, the
vehicle that
car's a
like takes
symbol
him.
for his potential freedom. But
Yeah,
it's he's stuck emotionally and psychologically, and the car is stuck. And then when the
yeah,
car's ready, he's ready to make a move.
yeah.
One of those little
Like
metaphors.
like you have the scene with the girl and they're having sex, or she wants to have sex, and he's like, she's like, you know, look, I don't love you the same way I love the other person, and the way she just, it just felt so real. I
Yes,
really feel you
that's
should get that. Somebody should see that. I think that would really apply to people today. I don't know if like a Shout Factory or a Criterion, one of those people would
hmm.
take it, but like it's, I don't know. I think it speaks to this generation that is kind of dealing with apathy in some ways. You know,
Hmm.
you're kind of looking, this apathetic. And now that I know, you know, Syracuse is kind of like, you know, this longing to escape, but not knowing how to escape. And you got the brothers there who are talking to him, and he's just like, you know, oh man, you need to do this. You need to go back to school. You got to do this. I mean,
They're
everybody that's in this business knows what that's like because you've had that conversation with somebody. What are you doing? What's going on? It's like they get
Yeah,
it.
time to grow up, time to follow the strict
Yeah,
rules that society has laid out for all of us. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. We are going to
yeah,
acculturate you into the very limited choices that you have in life based on what our
yeah,
society says you can do, that kind of
yeah.
thing.
Was there anything that like you wanted to do that you couldn't do with the film, either because of budget or?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things. I'm not really that pleased with the final cut. We had to sort of readjust
Mhm.
and take out some great sequences that I
Oh,
loved,
really?
just to keep the time down and other things.
Yeah,
And then the other thing was the music. I really, well, there was a Ween song
yeah,
called Nicole and she girl is named Nicole. And it
yeah,
was perfect that at the pool scene, this
yeah.
Ween song would kick in, Nicole, and I had timed things to the music, like the guy jumping off the diving board into the water, and there was a perfect thing, and it was just exactly on point. But and no one knew who Ween was that much at the time, so we were cool. We loved Ween, and I uh, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get other music choices, and I felt like I'm not
Yeah.
100% pleased with what's in there.
Was that
But
were the studios? Well, you guys felt you guys financed it all independently, so
yep, no, but it was for distributors. It was more of that kind of thing. We had a big
yeah,
screening, and there was interest, but it wasn't like anyone was jumping, over
yeah,
themselves to do it. And then we kind of got into that conversation with some
yeah.
distributors, like, well, maybe it should be shorter, and right, and this and that, and it's like
Oh
you're
no.
kind of so it's not exactly the way. But I think the
Yeah,
heart and soul of it is definitely remains. the
Yeah.
sensitivity to human feelings and the things that we really wanted. It's all there.
Well, you
So,
mentioned Mallrats. I mean, that was a film that took a long time to gain, it was considered a flop. And then it kind of
oh yeah, I
just,
remember it being a flop. Yep.
you know, and now it's kind of like this nostalgic look at, mall culture
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
world.
That now they're historical records, some of these
Yeah.
films, which is sort of, I
One
mean,
of the
that's what
things
I
I'm
love
I'm
about
really
film.
impressed is the authenticity of the acting. How do you like to direct actors?
Mhm. Well, I really, I think many directors would say this, you want to give them as much, if you, this is what you're going for an honest feeling, authentic, give them as much space as you can. And I kind of prefaced everything before we started shooting. Well, I rehearsed with the actors too for a good week,
Mm,
I think, before we started. And I gave them the big speech of like, look, I want it to be as natural as possible. And at the time, this wasn't so common. I said,
yeah.
when someone says something, maybe you go like, what? Like you didn't hear it necessarily. That happens in real life. And other times, like he's searching for a word that you can't remember what the word is, and I want you to talk. I mean, we're going to do two shots sometimes, so you can talk over each other. Don't think
Yeah.
like, oh, the mic's going to pick up two things. It's bad for the
Yeah.
sound. It feels artificial. Then who cares? Just you can talk over each other. Let's really. So they were like, yeah, let's definitely
Yeah.
do it. And I think we succeeded in that as much as we could at the time in more of a natural feel than the common film that you would see.
The only thing I thought about that I thought maybe could change, but I don't know, it kind of would hurt the feel of the film was when she's giving him the lap dance, or like on the stripper. I
Yeah.
thought that would be an interesting time to like maybe, I don't know. You could kind of go outside of the film because we're kind of like zooming in on his thoughts, like this is not.
So the lap dance, yes. So you were
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah. We're like if because he's disconnected at this part. So I thought it would be kind of interesting if like, but I don't know if you had the time or the budget to do this. Maybe like zone out the music or something so that we just kind of so that that like kind of
yeah,
gives it. But it might hurt the
that would have
film because the
well,
film is very natural.
that would have enhanced a little more. I know what you mean, like to go into the headspace and um
Something like that.
it would have enhanced the idea of the scene because the idea of the scene, and I think it communicates it, but maybe not as strong as it needs to,
Yeah, it
is that
does.
the idea of the scene is that he's uncomfortable and it's a little sad and uncomfortable. That should
Yeah,
be
he's seeing this girl
that
from
should
high
be the
school that
yeah. And she but then we turn to tables. It's more like the more he digs in and he meets the owner of the strip club and he talks to her afterwards,
yeah,
the more he kind of realizes like here's someone who is doing what she wants to do.
yeah,
And he here I am. I'm not as fulfilled. I'm not. She's ahead of me in terms of
yeah.
maturity, in a sense. And here I am, stuck in my dumb, immature rut, blaming my ex girlfriend for all my troubles. So I wanted it to be very, yeah, like self reflexive and all of
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
See, I went back and forth. I was like, I don't know. I mean, the way I get that right away. I just thought maybe it was a time, but you don't do that anything like that throughout the rest of the film. So it might be kind of like, what is this? Yeah,
Right.
you kind of have to like kind of set that kind of language up somewhere in the rest of the film. Otherwise, it kind of would just kind of come out of left field. Like, what is this?
It could.
Where,
Yes. Yes. Well, it's funny you say that because I've always said that I think there's a moment in Back to the Future that does that exact thing, and I think
Yeah,
it kind of comes. It's a moment that I felt they pushed too far into this like exaggerated world that they don't do it in any other spot. It's when George McFly at the end at the dance is going to dance with Elaine, and that other guy comes in. He's like,
yeah,
"Excuse me" or something, and then he starts dancing with her, and then it
yeah.
gets slow mo, and the guy's like,
Yeah, he starts like kind of
ah,
yeah disappearing and everything. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
but the
kind of
guy, it's slow mo and everything's echoing. And I was like, well, the rest of the film doesn't do anything like that. So are we in
yeah. You're
Marty's
right.
head
It
or
doesn't.
George's head or what's happening?
Yeah, you're
Anyway.
right.
So yeah, that's what
That's
made me think.
never really done again in the film.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting. But I love the film. I'm curious though about the title. Was it always going to be Freak Talks About
Yeah, that
Sex?
was the title of the novel. And I thought
Okay.
it was it's a great name. You
Yeah.
know, it's fun, it's quirky, it's attention grabbing.
Yeah.
And then the DVD distributor changed it to Blow and Smoke,
What?
without us even knowing. Like it had come out and we didn't even know that it was changed. And then
That makes it sound like, yeah, it's not a stoner film. I
no,
mean,
it's
there's
not Cheech and
stoning stuff
Chong.
in there. Yeah, that's that's a horrible title. Blowing smoke.
Blow and
Like it's
Smoke.
nothing to do with anything.
I know,
I
like
mean, you could go with like a generic title, like figuring it out or something. I mean, everything was, reality bites, something simple
right.
like that. But I do like Freak Talk. I don't know. I just could tell some like distributors sitting there going, well, we really don't want sex in the title.
That's what
We're
happened.
kind of scared. So we're gonna and then but that's a horrible title, Blowing Smoke.
Terrible. It's terrible. And then like I think
Wow.
we had mentioned this when we talked before that
Yeah.
I think The Opposite of Sex with Christina Ricci. Anyway, that had come out a couple years later.
Mm,
Maybe, and then and from that point on, you started seeing a lot of movies with sex in the title, sex, 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 and
yeah.
so I was right at the edge of this weird conservative approach to that word in the title.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just a
Yeah.
conservative time. And we ran into the same stuff when we wanted to shoot in the mall. They're like, hey, what's your movie called? Oh, it's Freak
Yeah.
Talks About Sex. Like, what? A porno? You can't shoot a porno in the
Yeah.
mall. Like, no, no, no. Talks about, not does it. It
I know
talks.
you should have put that in the film there. That would have been so funny. Like a cut of everybody be like, yeah, you can't do that. Like, no, no, Freak talks about sex.
Right.
What? Did
So
they just hear sex and they think, oh, it's porn?
yeah. What the
Like,
heck?
why would we do it here? Why would we do
Yeah.
porn in a mall? Like, who has ever done that?
Right. Exactly.
It's
You would never
like
see us
common
if we were doing
sense.
that. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're just gonna, take our clothes off and do a porn. Although that would actually be a funny concept of somebody going into a into a movie and be more of a sketch. Couldn't really do,
It'd be
I
like
think,
an
a full
SNL
film.
sketch. They're in the
Yeah, an
fountain at the
SNL
mall,
sketch.
like,
Yeah, they're trying to like, what are you doing? Oh, we're shooting a porno. Oh, well, you can't do that here. Oh, okay.
and they have steady cams and like huge, all this
Yeah,
crazy
they have this
equipment.
huge thing, so it looks like they're making a real film, and then they're just making a porn film. That's funny. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.